so you can become the perfect storm in Destiny 2. You become the lightning god himself that just blinks across the battlefield, calling forth lightning wherever you go, and leave nothing standing after you move on. This has got to be one of the more enjoyable playstyles I have played on the Prismatic Warlock so far, and it's all about that movement as you blink in and out of packs of enemies, and it's just so satisfying to see everything disintegrate in your wake. Now this is a LFG Grandmaster you're watching in the gameplay, and we cleared it in 24 minutes. So I would say that's pretty good for a random LFG. The first thing we have to talk about is the loadout. I normally don't focus on weapons that much, but I've been running these LFGs and I gotta say, I'm seeing some wild things out there, Guardians. Like you, Mr. Sweet Business Titan Man. You know who you are that I'm talking about, and you also left in the middle of our Grandmaster run. What's up with that? Okay, so we're gonna take the Call Rocket sidearm for Unstoppables, and because it's strand, we'll have infinite unraveling rounds. You guys know how strong rocket sidearms are. Any of the three between the strand, arc, and solar ones. But the call also comes with the dealer's choice origin trait that gives bonus super energy on kill. And when you have multiple pale heart weapons, those super gains are increased, which we are going to leverage with this build. If you put 3 of these weapons on together, you'll see it takes around 15 kills total of red bar enemies to fill your super all the way. Now we're also going to take Graviton Lance as our exotic weapon. It's anti-barrier this season, and it clears those purple shielded enemies so fast. We'll also have volatile rounds on this all the time, and get free overshields if you have the catalyst, and still get free overshields thanks to an artifact mod. Graviton is an ad clearing beast, and this Grandmaster is all about handling waves of enemies. And then we take Pro Memoria in the heavy slot. We get unraveling rounds here as well because it's strand, and both the Call and Pro have the dealer's choice origin. So a lot more super energy on kill that we're getting here. Plus, both of these weapons are darkness weapons, so they will fill our darkness bar for transcendence in a matter of seconds with their outgoing damage, and we're gonna buff their damage with mods. But remember, these 2 strand weapons are how you mainly build that darkness meter, and you're gonna be wanting to use those to go transcendence with this build as often as possible. Now make sure you take the Song of Flame super. This is pretty much known now on the Prismatic Warlock. Song of Flame is so strong in endgame content, and it'll make your life so much easier. Now for our melee, we take Arcane Needle, which plays into our lightning build, and then you also want to take the Vortex Grenade. I ran a few different grenades with the build, and I just really liked Vortex Grenade. It still hits hard, it plays into a couple artifact mods, and we have a weaken fragment on that allows the Vortex Grenade to weaken anything that it hits. And then that also plays into our Transcendence Grenade, which is Freezing Singularity. It's also considered a Void Grenade and will weaken on hit as well. Both Vortex Grenade and Freezing Singularity will suck enemies in with their black holes basically to crowd control and make your lightning melee slide in and do great damage. And since that 15% weaken debuff is on them, you're hitting 15% harder basically. Now for the first aspect, we do take Lightning Surge. You don't see this used too often on the Warlock, but if you guys give it a shot and build into it and make sure you understand the damage reduction that you can have with this, it's really fun to use. Now to make sure you stay alive, you have to understand your damage reduction. This is really important because if you don't understand that and stay alive, then this build is pretty much useless for you. Now we want to become Transcendence as often as possible. You'll see in the gameplay we get it so often and we're just using it. When you're Transcendence, you get a flat 20% damage reduction. When you use Lightning Surge and kill 2 or 3 enemies, that'll make you Amplified, which plays right into the Artifact mod Galvanic Armor, which gives you another 30% damage reduction. We also take Facet of Protection as a fragment. This gives you 15% damage reduction, and when it says that it's increased in Transcendence, that's just the extra 20% you get from Transcendence when you're Transcendence. Hopefully that makes sense. We're also going to get a 50% damage reduction from Void Overshields. Now Void Overshields aren't the best. They only have like a 45 HP bar, so they actually fall off really quickly, and that's if you have a full Void Overshield, right? But it is extra damage reduction when you have a little bit of a Void Overshield above your health bar, so it can help you survive 1 or 2 extra hits. And then of course you take your 100 Resilience. So that's another 30% damage reduction. So as you can see, we're stacking a bunch of damage reduction, and that's what allows you to live when we're doing these lightning surges into groups of enemies, and will full heal off every kill as well. And remember that Bungie buffed lightning surge, so when you're doing the animation, you basically have a few seconds where you're just immune when you're coming out of that lightning surge. So that's another source of damage reduction that I think a lot of people forget about. It's why when you charge Thunderclap now, which I've done a video on in the past, that you hardly take any damage when you're charging it, because Bungie buffed those few melee abilities like that to help you stay alive when you're trying to do them in difficult content like this. While sliding, you activate your melee ability to blink forward, calling down those lightning strikes that jolt targets as you rematerialize, and this will also make you amplified as long as you get 2 or 3 kills with this lightning surge ability. So we're getting amplified, we're leaving anything that's still alive jolted, and we've probably pretty much cleared a ton of enemies around high health targets. We pair that with Feed the Void. Defeating a target with any ability activates Devour. So Lightning Surge is an ability. We have 3 charges of Lightning Surge thanks to Arcane Needle, and we're proccing Devour every time we use it. Devour gives you basically a full heal and restores that extra grenade energy about 20% per kill. So every time we slide in and do that Lightning Surge, you're applying the Jolt debuff, you're becoming amplified, you're proccing Devour, so you're full healing, and you're giving yourself grenade energy, which just feeds into Vortex Grenade. And you have 3 charges of that Lightning Surge. And in Prismatic, you have unlimited Lightning Surges, basically. Now for our fragments, we do take Facet of Dominance. This allows both our Vortex Grenade to weaken and our Freezing Singularity, which is our Transcendence Grenade, to weaken as well. This means when we're comboing any grenades, we're hitting 15% harder when we Lightning Surge into those enemies. We also pair that with Facet of Courage. Your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. Well, our Transcendence Grenade is also a Stasis Grenade, and it slows enemies and ends up freezing them. That's a Darkness debuff, so we get an extra 10% damage to our Arc Sliding melee from Facet of Courage. If you also throw out a normal melee, which is Arcane Needle, and it applies Unravel to enemies, or you hit an enemy with your unraveled weapons, the Call or Pro Memoria, you're debuffing them, right? So a lot of different ways to get this extra 10% damage from Facet of Courage. We take Facet of Bravery as our 3rd fragment. Any of our grenade final blows will grant volatile rounds to Graviton Lance, and any melee final blows will grant unraveling rounds to our strand weapons. I really like this fragment on a lot of builds because it's just extra passive damage on your weapons when you're using your weapons. And volatile rounds paired with anything that gives you a void overshield with repulsor brace is just great. We take Facet of Protection, like I mentioned earlier. It's just an extra 15% damage reduction all the time. And then lastly, we take Facet of Solitude. When we land those rapid precision hits, it severs enemies, and this is just great against bosses like that Tormentor or champions. It cuts their outgoing damage by 40%. It's just another way to help you stay alive and to help your team stay alive in difficult content. Now for our exotic class item on the Warlock, your first column can have whatever you want in it. You really just need what's in the second column, and that is Spirit of Synthoceps. Improves melee damage when you're surrounded. So when there's 3 or more enemies, your Lightning Surge is hitting much harder, as you can see in the gameplay. Technically, 3 Lightning Surges will kill a champion in this Grandmaster Nightfall, or at least leave them finishable. So Lightning Surge hits really hard, and it just has great area effect, and when that damage is buffed, it just clears out these enemies like crazy. So you really just need a class item with Spirit of Synthoceps, that's all. In the first column, go with whatever you want. For my particular build that you see, I have Spirit of Osmiomancy. That's the best exotic class item I had with Synthoceps, and it is nice getting half of my Vortex Grenade back when I just throw it on a champion or a boss. And it's another way just to keep my loop going with grenades. But since I have Devour on the Warlock, you really don't need Spirit of Osmiomancy there, because you are going to get that grenade back really fast anyways. So whatever other options you want to go with in that first column is great. Now if you guys didn't see my last Hunter build, that'll be up on screen for you to click on. It's a great build, it's really fun, and I think you guys would really enjoy it if you haven't seen it. And then if you do want to see the mods and the artifact mods, just click on the Mobalytics link down below. It gives you all the information you need. You can hover over and see exactly which mods go where and what I use. And really we just take 2 strand weapon surge on the boots just to beef up our damage. And then I do like to take an Ashes to Assets and a hands-on my helmet to further increase that super energy coming back to me on those ability kills, because that plays right into using both our weapons with the Dealer's Choice perk, right? And that's why I'm popping so many Song of Flames really quickly. I also take a special finisher on my class item, so when I get 3 stacks of armor charge, I can finish something and get that special ammo for the call to keep ammo up in it. For your Vortex Grenade as well, in the artifact, if you pair it with the 2 mods Void Hegemony and Expanding Abyss, that'll let you get Void Overshields when you defeat any weakened targets, which both of your grenades are weakening everything, right? And then Void Sources with Expanding Abyss deal extra increased damage to weakened targets. So both of your grenades are hitting even harder with Expanding Abyss. Make sure you have Galvanic Armor on, like I said, and Transference, which gives you increased grenade and melee damage while Transcendence. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.